Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Welcome back to my channel, Everything Else, where we talk about everything else. Today we're going to be continuing My Invisalign Journey. I know it's been a while, but we're going to be discussing days 185 to all the way out to 255. I've gone through another 70 days of My Invisalign Journey, all the way from trays 19 to 26. And I didn't really do a follow-up video throughout that time period just because I didn't really have content to produce or share with you because nothing significant happened. But I'm on the last leg of my Invisalign journey, so I wanted to do a video today to provide a general overview of my experience thus far and kind of updates of where I'm at and the next steps as far as finishing this out. So we'll just get started. So for those of you that have not ever seen my Invisalign journey or my story, I've been doing a series of videos of starting with Invisalign. The reason why I got Invisalign is because I had a vertical tooth fracture where I had one of my teeth extracted and I needed to get an implant placed in. And when I spoke to my oral surgeon, he essentially said that prior to getting the implant, I should get any orthodontic work done first, just to make sure that my teeth are aligned, because once the implant goes in, you can't really adjust or change your teeth or your teeth from an orthodontist standpoint. So I went to an orthodontist. Essentially, we discussed Invisalign and I ended up going with it. Really, just because I had some teeth misalignment where my teeth were misaligned from a prior jaw fracture, and I wanted to get it corrected prior to getting the implant placed. So that I started back in October of 2021. Since then, I've been doing Invisalign. Since then, I'm currently on tray 26 of a total of 32 trays. For those of you though that don't know about Invisalign, essentially it is alternative to braces. It comes in these packets like this. Essentially, when you sign up for it, they'll take pictures of your mouth where your teeth are aligned. They'll send it off to Invisalign, and then they'll send you your whole treatment plan once it's approved in packets like this, where it comes with trays for the upper and lower aspect of your teeth, and you essentially walk through each step one by one, from one to whatever your total treatment plan might be. For me, that's a total of 32 treatments, so I'm currently on 26 of 32, and so I'm on the last several aligners before I finish. Beyond that, as far as setup and things like that, when you first get Invisalign, what they do is they put these little you'll go for a little bit of a longer visit where they put these attachments on your teeth where it's essentially glue. I'll take my Invisalign out and kind of show you right now. But if you look, it's these, sorry, the camera might not focus, but it's these little attachments that essentially glue onto your the surface of your teeth, and that acts to, when you put the Invisalign in, which looks like this, it'll act to essentially fix on that, and that's what the Invisalign uses to, one, stay in your mouth, but also adjust your teeth while you're using it. So far, the attachment process, or as far as implanting or putting it on, isn't really uncomfortable as far as pain or discomfort. I'd say the worst part of it is really that there's some dryness because they have to keep your mouth open while that glue settles. And while it's there, your teeth or mouth might dry out, and there might be some kind of annoyance from that standpoint. Took about an hour and a half for that visit. I've had the attachments since then. I haven't had any issues as far as them falling out or any issues with having them get replaced or anything like that. And then as far as Invisalign, when you first get it, I'd say that the aligners, when you first get it, the first couple of aligners, there's some pain or discomfort, really because you get some tooth tightness. As it's kind of like forcing your teeth to adjust to the Invisalign. So what I recommend is when you first get it, take Tylenol or ibuprofen just for the pain or discomfort if you notice that. It does get better with time. After the first couple of aligners, for me personally, it did get better. The other advice I'd provide is that at night, put your aligner in first at night when you switch them, because when you're sleeping, you're not going to really notice it as much as if you switched them during the day. The other thing you'll notice is that when you put the aligners in, so these I got from my orthodontist yesterday, you'll notice a little bit of a list. And so if I throw these in, immediately you can tell my voice is a little bit adjusted or like off, where there's a little bit of a lisp because my tongue is adjusting to the liner. So from every liner, essentially the first couple days when you put them in, you'll notice a lisp, your speech being off. So people might think you're sounding funny or anything, but it does get better as you use them. Each aligner, at least as far as my treatment, is 10-day time period where you'll use it for 10 days and then you'll switch out to the next one. My orthodontist has it set up where I get a pack of about 5 aligners at a time, like this, and then I'll follow up every 7 weeks, and they essentially look at my progress over that time period. During those visits, for me, it's been very quick, where it's been like 10-15 minutes, where they look at the current aligner, look at how it fits on my teeth, they'll take out the aligner, they'll look at my teeth, inspect, make sure there's no issues, and then they'll put the new aligner in, make sure it's fitting adequately, and that they don't see any major red flags or anything as far as the fit. If you have issues or anything like that, or if you have questions, I just bring them up at that time period, and they've been very receptive as far as providing feedback, guidance, things like that. So those are the major high points there. Additionally, with Invisalign, they'll give you a bag. You can look back at my video where I discuss what the contents are, but they give you initially a case like this. It's got like a clamshell case. Mine actually broke about I guess 6 months in, where this push pin here, this is the Invisalign case, fell out and it kept on falling out. So the top lid essentially fell off and became useless. I discussed this in my prior video, but at my last visit to my orthodontist, they essentially gave me a classic retainer case like this, and that's been working effectively. I haven't had to buy anything, but if you want a fancier case or some sort of color, you can either order it through Amazon or through Invisalign directly as far as that. Beyond that, as far as discussing Invisalign, as far as routine use and care, you essentially wear it 24 hours a day. When you have it, you'll essentially take it out only for meals or when you're brushing your teeth. So anytime you're eating or drinking something other than water or seltzer, you'll take it out, eat, and then you'll brush your teeth prior to putting it back in. I find brushing my teeth and the aligner at that time is very useful, and I do that routinely every day. And then in the evenings around dinner time, I take them out and I essentially put them in a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water to essentially disinfect them and clean them and keep them clearer. They do give you a cleaning crystal set, which is some proprietary blend of something to clean it. That does work very effectively, but they didn't give me too many of those packets, so I haven't used them throughout my treatment. But I found the hydrogen peroxide solution works really well, and using it once a day in the evening works very effectively. Beyond that, the only other thing I'll say is I drink coffee regularly. What I'll do is I'll actually take the aligners out when I'm drinking that. I'll rinse my mouth out rather than brushing my teeth, just because of the acidity during that time, from the coffee, and I'll just rinse it off and put them back in. You do have to worry about stains at times, just because the coffee can stain your teeth, but that's one thing. So those are the major high points as far as the treatment, the experience that I've had thus far. As far as updates since my last visit, I haven't had major issues. I'll say that from one aligner to the next, it's been routine, which is why I haven't made multiple videos since my last video. The couple things I've noticed since my last video is one, about three aligners ago, I did notice that I was starting to have some discomfort on the upper jaw portion here where my wisdom tooth was. It was both on the inside and outside of the gum line. It lasted about 2 days. It could have been just me. I put it in at night and I wore the aligner during night. Maybe I was clenching my jaw or more stressed at the time, but for about 2 to 3 days I had some jaw pain up here. I did bring that up at my orthodontist appointment yesterday. They actually looked at the aligner and they said that they noticed that in that region on the aligners, it does rise a little bit higher on the gum line, and so they were tempted to cut it off, but they kind of just left it as is because I haven't had issues since that one set. But that is something that you might experience, but the fact that it just stopped on its own was reassuring. The other thing is, I'll say that about a month ago, I noticed some either staining or cavity on my front left incisor on the bottom. I noticed just this little punctate area where it was essentially darker than the remainder of the tooth. I kept an eye on it, and there was no pain or discomfort there. I brought that up yesterday. They essentially looked at that area, and then they just used polish and removed it. And so it was just a stain, which is good too, because I was worried that it was a cavity, and I'd really hate to have cavities in my teeth simply from using Invisalign, because because I brush it regularly, floss, use mouthwash as instructed, and it'd be kind of terrible if I got cavities just from that. In addition to that, you'll notice that throughout your use, as your teeth are adjusting, at least from what my experience, my teeth adjusted where there's a little bit more space between the gum lines. So occasionally I've noticed stains between the teeth, just in areas where the teeth weren't exposed to where I typically brush. And so that area has staining. When I went to the dentist about 4 months ago, they just cleaned up those areas very well and the stains went away. But it's something that I think you're a little bit more prone to getting stains with the Invisalign, just because you have it on all the time and you just aren't cleaning or kind of clearing out saliva as much as usual. And those, I think, are the major high points I have for my Invisalign journey. The next steps for me, at least, is I've got the 5 packs here. So I'll have a 7-week follow-up in a couple weeks after these aligners. At that point, what they said is the next step is what they'll do is reevaluate my teeth. They'll take out the attachments and kind of take pictures again and see if any other adjustments need to be made. If no additional work needs to be done, then they'll send out for getting a permanent retainer where you'll wear that at night, essentially to stabilize your teeth over time and prevent them from shifting backwards. That's something that you'll only have to wear at night. You don't have to wear it during the day. The alternative is you can get a bridge along the back of your teeth, both on the top and the bottom, that prevents it as well. But I don't think I'll opt for that, just because by using Invisalign and getting that routine, it's not that complicated to just wear a retainer at night compared to getting a bridge permanently that can impair your ability to clean your teeth or floss between them. However, so the other thing they mentioned is if additional work needs to be done, they either might send out for more Invisalign trays depending on what it looks like, or they might pursue either additional or a traditional retainer or braces depending on what work needs to be done at that time as well. So that's the next step 7 weeks from now. Additionally, beyond that, I discussed getting my implant placed. They essentially said at the next visit they'll evaluate that, and at that point I'll discuss with my oral surgeon as well as my dentist the next steps as far as the implant. But once the work is done or stabilized, essentially they'll stabilize the work until that implant gets placed, and then they'll assess once the implant gets placed, making sure that things don't shift or realign once the implant's there, because it could push on the adjacent teeth and cause things to shift over time. So that's really all I have. I'm going to just take these out, show you what it looks like as far as my teeth for now, and then we'll just give a general sense of my overall impressions of Invisalign today. So these are what they look like. Sorry if they're gross. That's the front and back. This is my bottom one. I've got a missing or wisdom tooth that's out, so that's pretty obvious. And this is the top one. They're clear. You just have to brush them and clean them as I discussed. And then this is what my teeth look like currently. And so the main things I've noticed is that my overbite here is now overlying the bottom teeth, and now on the sides here, my teeth are much better aligned where there's better opposition compared to previously. Whenever you throw these in, you just have to be careful and you slide them back on. And this is what they look like in. And so that's what they look like. As far as my personal experience with Invisalign, as I discussed, I didn't really do this for cosmetic purposes. It was really to align my teeth better as well as prepare my teeth prior to getting the implant. Invisalign is expensive. I think the cost varies from where you are in the country and different, like who you're working with as far as an orthodontist, but it is very expensive for the price. From my experience, I would not do this from a cosmetic only standpoint because the cost is so high. I wouldn't have ever pursued it if I didn't need an implant. However, because I needed an implant, I wanted to get this all situated and done prior to doing that, just to make sure I didn't run into issues in the future. Really, it does come down to your personal preference, your personal cosmetic smile, functionality, things like that when making this decision, but it is very expensive. It is a time-intensive process, and the treatment plan does vary based on how your teeth are currently aligned and the overall goal or end point. So it does have a wide variety of how effective it'll be and how long you'll have to pursue treatment. But overall, it's very tolerable. It's routine once you establish the routine, and the pain's really in the beginning or when you're switching to a new aligner, which is not severe uncomfortable. There are points where it's uncomfortable, but it is tolerable with kind of anticipating it. So I hope that provides a general sense or general overview of Invisalign, my experiences with it, general tips and advice I've had from my experience so far. I've got about 7 weeks left before finishing this. I'll do a follow-up video at that time, and I hope this provides guidance for those of you that are looking into this or considering this process. And if you have questions, comments, anything like that, just post them below, because I know it is an expensive and time-intensive process, and I'd be happy to answer those from my personal experience so far. So if you like this video, definitely like it, and if you're interested in following up with this, like my Invisalign journey moving forwards, please subscribe to my channel. And thanks for watching, and have a good night.